Wednesday, May 21st. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geeknights. Tonight, instead of telling you how to get into anime, we tell you how to get other people into anime.
Let's do this.
So Emily must have not had any work to do today because actually she decided she tried to figure out what my name would be in kanji.
Wouldn't it just be like Rimu?
Well, it is. It's Rimu, and she, pick what kanji and all the pronunciation.
Oh, you
stuff.
have to pick a kanji that sounds like Ri, and then another one that sounds like Mu.
And you know how Japanese names work. So what she chose, and I think this is pretty cool. So Rimu can also be pronounced. Well, I'll get to that. The first kanji means advantage. And the second one means rejoice or jubilation, which is very fitting in German board games. So
I guess so, yeah.
I feel good about that. Plus, it looks cool. The first one's like a sword with things coming out the top.
I always like the ones that look like little houses. Those are the best.
The second one is one of those million line kanjis with a million like square hash lines.
The house looking ones are the best.
It's got a hat, and then it's got like little tentacles coming out the bottom.
No, tentacles are good.
But it's pronounced, obviously, Rimu, but the other reading is Toshiyoshi. Now, Toshiyoshi
Well, I don't know what Toshi is, but Yoshi's a green guy with a big tongue.
Oh, it's so much cooler than that.
All right.
So Toshiyoshi is actually the name of, Yagyu Toshiyoshi was the founder of the Owari branch of the Yagyu Shinkageryu sword style in the early Edo period.
All right.
He was one of those grandmasters who was around at the same time of another famous Japanese swordsman, Miyamoto Musashi.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Yagyu Juve.
So, according to legend, Musashi Miyamoto was in Nagoya and noticed a man carrying himself in a way that befitted a great warrior. And he asked this man without prompting, "Aren't you Lord Yagyu Toshiyoshi?" To which he replied, "I am." "Aren't you Lord Miyamoto Musashi?" To which he replied, "I am." And apparently they'd never met each other, and they bonded through the fact that they were so badass. And that is the story that I have no citation for whatsoever.
That sounds like a made-up story, but it reminds me of that part in Full Metal Alchemist where it's like they bonded through their muscles.
That was one of the best scenes in Full Metal Alchemist.
That was a good part right there.
I have to say.
I think it's in the manga, too.
So, I feel like I should start going by Toshiyoshi.
How about not?
Toshiyoshi Dono.
If you try that shit, everyone's just going to call you Brandon. I think that's...
It's weird how no one calls me Brandon except my business contacts that are completely separated from my real life.
Yeah.
And Tex.
That's right.
I always found it funny that someone who was called Tex decided not to call me by my name.
I think, isn't his name Tex?
I don't even, in all these years, I never asked him if that was a nickname or if that was a real name. I've never seen his ID.
Maybe that's his strategy, is that he's like, if I'm the only one who can have a weird name, then I'll be the king.
All right, lads, from now on, you're all calling me Sting.
That's his rejoicing advantage.
Well, there are other, Nuri's name is not Nuri, but no one calls her anything but Nuri. I don't think half the people in the crew even know her real name, which I think is hilarious.
I know.
Sadly, even worse, your mom in the forums, I'm not going to reveal her secret identity, but...
Mrs. DeCoster?
What? Well, the royal your mom.
Okay.
But I knew her from an internet name and as an internet friend at conventions before I knew her real name. So for a long time after we became friends, I called her by her internet name in person.
Well, not her your mom internet name.
Yes, your mom is a much better internet name.
I agree.
That's like the best... Because it allowed for the most epic punning of anyone on the internet ever, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
So that's all I got. That's my morning.
So tonight we're gonna order some pizza action after the show.
So what kind of pizza are we gonna get?
I suggest some variety of meat.
I don't know. I'm kind of going for a margarita.
I want sauce and cheese.
What kind of sauce? See. The one problem I have is you don't like the pesto pizza.
No, not really.
I really like the pesto pizza, the white pizza.
A red sauce.
Well, actually,
some sort of cheese.
The best
and
pizza.
some sort of meat and or vegetable.
The best pizza is
but not olives.
We have to do a show on pizza.
Oh, it's a good Thursday.
That's an easy Thursday.
You know, we need to get like an expert pizza person to talk to on the Thursday.
Oh, yes, we do. Maybe we can get the guy down the street who runs that pizza shop.
You want to get him to come to our house?
Be like, hey, come to our house and be on a radio show about pizza. Because he makes that cornmeal crust, and it's so good.
Yeah, I know. I'd
So
rather
good.
get like some ancient Italian dude though who can barely speak English. That'd be much better.
All
It's
right.
like, oh, the pizza.
Yes.
It needs to be crusty.
That is what Italian people sound like.
Old ones.
Not, it's a me, Mario. I'm going to blah-de-blah-de-blah-bye. Wow, we're going to get some hate mail from that.
Well,
So, Scott Dono, what do you got in the...
Scott Dono.
I just... Dono
I'm not Scott Kuhn.
is my favorite, like, of all the honorifics. I think Dono is my favorite.
For being silly, now you have to call me Scott San.
Scott San.
That's right.
I don't know. I think Kuhn works.
No.
All right.
Oh, then you're Rim Chan then.
Rimchan? What about Rimtan?
No,
I prefer Rim Dono.
that's tough.
So what do you have in the stupid anime news, Captain Anime?
Oh, I forgot. What was my anime news? All right. So check this out. Remember that whole this is not really an anime news, it's a copyright news, but there are all sorts of anime peoples getting up in arms about it because they're stupid, right? And finally there's like a definitive word on it that I can trust, so I could bring it up again. Remember that Orphaned Works action?
I remember that in like 1995 when it was on the internet.
Right. Well, basically, there's been recent uproar about the Orphaned Works action, and there was a big uproar, and then it went down a bit, but now it's rumbling again,
Rabble,
right?
rabble.
And, you know, everyone was sort of there was a lot of FUD going around about it, you know, and I was sort of like, I was taking the stance that, hey, is a good thing because, there's a lot of works out there that no one even knows who owns these things. People who own them don't even know they own them, and they're not entering the public domain. You know, it's not good, right? And that there's all, basically you can't create anything because you don't know if you're infringing on something or not. You know, it's
even with video games, we have a lot of ideas about taking old awesome but forgotten video games and porting them to something or making a pair or something fun with them. But a lot of times, and I actually tried to track down the copyrights of a few old games, and I couldn't find jack.
Right. So, I was saying it was good, and then all these artists were like saying, no, it's bad. People will take all our shit, right? Well, the Larry Lessig, if you don't know who Larry Lessig is, I don't know, I've mentioned him a lot of times on the show before.
Mostly on Monday.
And
Thursday.
Lawrence Lessig is like an ultra famous super lawyer, and he was until recently like a copyright guy, and that was his focus. Like the Creative Commons stuff, that's all because of him, pretty much. I mean, there were other people too, but that's his business right there. And there's a TED video, you can see him talk, and basically you'll understand his whole deal from that. But he recently, sort of quit the copyright business of lawyering because he realized, or he sort of came to the conclusion, that he couldn't fix the copyright business if he couldn't fix the corruption in government. So now he's working on fixing corruption instead.
I'm curious what will come out of that, man.
I'm very curious what will come out of it because he's a very smart man, but that's a very impossible problem. So what will be? Regardless of that, he takes like 1 month a year off, I think the month of May, so he wasn't around this month. But despite that, there was, in the New York Times, there was an article by Lawrence Lessig, a very short one, it's only like a little bit, and where he talks about the recent Orphaned Works bill stuff, right? And he agrees with me in that, yes, we got to get these orphaned works so people can fucking use them. Good God. But he actually disagrees with the specific bill that's going on. And after reading it, it's hard not to completely agree with him, pretty much. What he points out is the way the bill works now, though as written, is let's say Rim made a song in like 1983 when he was 1 year old.
All right.
Okay. The song is by default copyrighted to you, right? And that's sort of been the way that's the way it's been for a long time. So people are used to this automatic copyright business, right? Now let's say I wanted to use that song. All that is required of me to avoid getting sued is I have to do due diligence in order to make sure that no one is, maintaining this copyright, and then I can use it. So basically what happens is, with that situation, I'm sure they haven't explicitly defined the due diligence yet, but someone goes to like a library, or and pays someone or does the due diligence. I didn't find anything, and then they start using it. Right? And then later on, someone comes along and says, hey, you did due diligence, but you still didn't find me. Here I am. What the fuck?
Well, then I would argue that simply wasn't due diligence.
Well, I know, but the question is there a better way than this due diligence thing? And also, they haven't strictly defined what the due diligence is. And he has a better solution anyway, so it doesn't really matter if, how good the definition of due diligence is. His better solution is you get your copyright for an amount of time, right? And then if you want to keep it longer, all you have to do is file a form and pay $1.
Actually, that has been the good idea that's been passed around for the last 20 years in regards to copyright.
That way, I know, but it's like that way, right? If something is orphaned, it's basically you just look up, did anyone pay the $1? No? Okay, that due diligence is really easy. Did anyone pay their $1? Right? Is it this old? Did anyone pay $1? Very easy to figure out.
There's also some
if
trouble
it's abandoned
with that.
or not.
There's some trouble. I mean, how long is the period? Because what if I?
Well, he said 14 years, but whatever.
Yeah, all right. So 14 years. Let's say I take 1,000 pictures.
All right.
And I want to keep the copyright on all of them because I'm using them for stuff.
Yep.
I got to pay $1,000.
Yep.
That's great.
That is great.
Yeah, it's actually not that bad because the $1 really. We could even make it cheaper.
Because what it does is
you could make it just 10 cents. Basically, all you have to do is set up the effort. Of course.
Well, I think the reason $1 is good is that sure it might add up if you have a lot of works, right? But any of the works that aren't actually producing money for you, you're not going to bother to pay the $1, and thus it's better for the public because we're going to get all these, things that aren't, they're not valuable to you.
You get all the kind of second-tier work.
Right. The stuff that no one can, thinks they can make money off of.
But that is the point that people are going to go crazy about.
That is.
But those are the people who have
money?
a Flickr full of, 10,000 pictures, all marked with the most limited license they can put on there, and then they want to keep their copyright for as long as they live plus 1,000,000 years.
Yeah, even though they're not making any money off of those things. Right? It's like you're not making money off of it. You released it you released it to where people can look at it, and now you sort of want to keep people from making remixes of it.
Yeah, because think if you didn't release it anywhere to the public, then no one can get it to infringe on your thing even if you don't pay the $1.
I know, right? The other thing he points out is that he makes some exceptions. He's like people like in foreign countries shouldn't have to pay the $1. They should have different rules because how are they supposed to know that they have to fill out a form and pay $1 in the U.S.? It's sort of stuff like that. He points out. There's a couple other exceptions he throws in there too. But I think you should, if you're one of those people who is believing the FUD or confused about the FUD surrounding the Orphan Works thing, you should read this New York Times article from the smart guy.
So in some more directly anime-related news, HALCALI, a Japanese band they look pretty awesome, and they're going to be performing at Japan Day in New York City.
Well, they already performed at Anime Central last week, right?
And from what I read, because I was kind of looking up on them for reasons that will be apparent in a minute, the concert went really well, and they're going to be in New York performing at the second annual Japan Day event on June 1st.
So they're spending quite a few weeks in the U.S. here. It's like 2 or 3 weeks they're spending here.
Yeah, so one, if you're in the New York City area and you want to see a concert or two or four in Central Park's East Meadow involving perhaps Japanese music, they'll also have Gaijin a Go-Go and Happy Fun Smile.
Oh, Happy Fun Smile is
Brian Nishi.
That's Brian Nishi's, yeah. That's him.
Gaijin a Go-Go apparently is a loco or semi-local band.
I never heard of them, but
anyway,
that sounds kind of fun.
HALCALI
I hope
is
it's
the big
go-go
one.
music.
And they're going to be playing in Central Park at 3:15 p.m.
For free?
Yes, I believe so.
Nice.
I'm not 100% sure. I didn't look in.
Yeah, Central Park music is usually free.
Well, I'll be honest. In general, when it comes to anime events, I don't even think about the price because when was the last time we paid for a convention?
I don't know.
But anyway, so June 1st concert, that's going to be pretty cool. But if you're super cool, you want to be at the Kinokuniya bookstore on Friday, May 30th at 6 p.m. because they're going to be there along with Brian Nishi and Tokyo FM and us.
Oh, we're doing another one of these things.
And we're going to be interviewing them for Japanese radio. They'll be there to talk to the fans. And for anyone who was at our TMR event last time after the New York Comic Con, you can pretty much be about 2.5 feet away from these people if you want to be.
If you get there early enough.
Yeah, you might have to get
Yeah.
there pretty damn early, but
I feel really bad that I've never listened to these people's music, but I promise I will get MP3s right after the show.
yeah, we'll be all set. Believe this is going to be fun. But one, if you want to see them, be at the Kinokuniya Friday, May 30th, 6 p.m., New York City. If you want to see them or us, you can be there, and it'll be awesome.
Yep.
If you're super cool, you might want to get there early.
I really hope it goes well because it's like the second shot. You know, it's like the first shot was easy. It was TMR. It was like a shoo-in. You know, the second one is sort of like, well, let's see how it goes. And I think if it goes, I think it's going to be a successful monthly deal. And that would be way cool.
Yes. And also there's a website I'll link to it, but if these events start taking off, you can go to samuraibeatradio.com and there'll be kind of regular listings of all these things.
Oh, nice. They got a website going on.
Well, they actually asked us to send pictures of ourselves, to which we realized that Scott doesn't have any presentable pictures of himself.
Yeah, I haven't presented. Most of the pictures I'm in,
It's like a wide shot, and you're
the
standing
best-
in the middle,
the-
or you're flipping me off.
the best picture of myself is a picture we took 2 Katsukons ago. And it was like me, you, and like Conrad and Yuko behind the table. And I'm like off to the side wearing like my Metroid shirt, just like, hey.
Don't you hate that when like you find the one good picture of you and,
And
then,
I'm off to the side and I'm kind of small.
and you can't recreate that moment, and if you zoom in, it's too grainy?
Yep.
Well, the only picture of me I have that's presentable is probably not suitable for being used in a press capacity.
Great.
Yeah, it's in my Flickr, and I'm kind of horrified that I was going through my Flickr looking for pictures of myself, and I forgot that I put those pictures up, and I was even more horrified that Ido and Anath apparently found these pictures and both left comments.
I gotta go check this out now.
Things of the day. So I came across this, and the main reason this is my thing of the day is because the song is really, really, really catchy. Like, it just got stuck in my head for the last week. It's kind of bad. And you hear it, and you go, it's in my head. And actually, for a while, like, Emily was here and Scott was here, and we're trying to figure out, because it sounded really familiar, but we couldn't figure out what it was from right away. We're like, I know this song. I've heard this song. Don't you hate it when that happens?
Yeah, it's pretty rough when you hear a song. I heard this song. I've heard this song before. I don't know the name of it. I don't know who sings it. I don't know where it's from.
But this song, this video for one, is pretty well done. I mean, the animation quality, it's 3D, is actually really, really natural and surprisingly
I was standing
good.
far away from it, and I'm like, I can make that. And Emily's like, no, you can't. And I'm like, yeah, I could. I just need the little puppets. And she's like, it's not puppets, it's CG. I'm like, oh, I can't make that.
Yeah, you couldn't do that with puppets.
If I had the puppets already, they don't move very much.
But
so
their faces change constantly.
Well, if you change the face on a puppet, all you do is, you take the eyes off. It's like Mr. Potato
yes,
Head.
and how do you do that without moving it?
Mr. Potato Head.
Mr. Potato Head moves.
The puppets are really big, and the camera's really far away. That's why they look so small.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's very, like, I guess the movement was more natural than that Final Fantasy movie.
Yeah, I never actually saw that Final Fantasy movie. I just knew of it.
Like, it's the animation is really good, even though, like, the characters seem like they don't move a lot. You might say, why would you say it's so good? It's so, like, stilted and blah. Well, the second link in my thing of the day is the kind of source to this video, which will let you kind of understand where this came from. You see, there are two things at play here. One, the song is from Sergeant Frog,
Dun dun dun.
one of the closers, because Sergeant Frog closers have, like, dances in them, and the characters are just doing the dance from that closer to Sergeant Frog.
Mm-hmm.
Very well. But in addition to that, the song itself is not the original song from that closer. It's a remix. It's a special remix because the voice that is singing is not actually a human being or anything. It's that Vocaloid program. Now, if you don't know what Vocaloid is, it's basically a program where you can type in lyrics and then assign notes to the lyrics and do other stuff, and a fake idol will sing your song surprisingly well for you.
A fake, like, singing pop star idol, not a fake, tiki idol.
I don't know if I need to specify on a Wednesday night.
Yeah, yes, you do.
How many? Anyway, so the animation's catchy. The song is catchy. I point out, watch the girl in the upper left because she totally doesn't know the dance.
Yeah, I think that's my favorite part.
I don't know. I like the girl in the upper right with her yelling.
No, I like the can't dance one.
It's really good. Check it out.
It's cute stuff.
It's
All right.
also, I point out, not just ripped out of Dig or College Humor.
Yeah. So check this out. Ready? This is totally ripped out of I forget where, but it doesn't matter. Take your Lupin the Third TV series opening animation. Replace the Lupin gang with Metal Gear. That is my thing of the day. You probably saw this on the internet maybe already, maybe not. It doesn't matter. Really? Like, I can tell that this is really funny, and some of it is funny, but because I don't really know Metal Gear so well, I don't get some of the jokes, but if you know Lupin and you know Metal Gear, it's obvious that this is probably going to crack you up.
We're definitely, well, we might get a little bit of hate for this, but I remember when I played Metal Gear Solid 1, and I didn't really like it that much. And
It was an okay game from what I played. I didn't play enough.
I mean,
I should seek out the GameCube version of it.
Yeah. But I feel as though, I don't know, this might be one of those things where it just marks us as from the previous generation of gaming, much like the most recent VGCats.
You like Metal Gear 1?
Yeah, like Metal Gear 1 is my favorite Metal Gear.
But not Metal Gear 2.
Oh my god. No, wait, there was no Metal Gear 2.
You're sorry.
I have no son.
That's right. Oh.
Man.
How could I imagine such a fake thing?
So, I used the Game Genie to cheat at Metal Gear 2, because fuck that game.
I thought it didn't exist.
Well,
Stop playing with my mind.
At some game, right? This game, and I cheated at it. And then I realized that I couldn't save my game because I couldn't die because the cheat code I used. and I'd already gotten about halfway through because that game is impossible and stupid. That's like oh my god. But it doesn't exist, so it doesn't matter.
That's all right. Red just made that whole thing up.
Yeah.
But Metal Gear 1 is our business, you know.
That game is
Start the game with nothing but a pack of cigarettes and a radio.
A fist.
And a fist.
I love how later in the game you get that transmitter.
Punch dogs.
You get that transmitter. Like you get captured and then you get let go. And you got this extra item now called transmitter. And I remember I got it and I was like, oh, what's that do? And I used it and it disappeared. And I was like, oh no, I gotta save it for whatever I use it for because it's obviously awesome. So I, started again, got to that point, made sure I didn't use it, trying to think about what it would do or when I was going to use it. And for the rest of the game, every screen I went to, the bad guys knew I was there and they tried to kill me. Because you see, the transmitter was a bug placed there by the bad guys. You were supposed to use it, as in you discover it and destroy it. But I was too clever. I kept it. For the whole rest of the game, I kept it. And then my friend Joe said, he basically told me in no uncertain terms that I was an idiot. And that was the first I realized.
Thus is the way of the NES game.
Oh, man. Remember those mazes?
Yeah, which truck do I get on?
The truck have started to move.
Okay.
We got to do a show on Metal Gear 1.
I didn't play it enough.
Really?
Really?
I can beat that game pretty quick.
I've only played like maybe 20 screens of it.
Yeah, that's actually kind of far.
It's pretty far.
No, it's not at all. That barely gets you into the first building.
I know. Anyway.
So we were thinking about reviewing Kazuno Yojimbo tonight, which is kind of an older anime, and
it's not that old. I mean, it's a this millennium anime.
Well, no, it isn't.
Yeah, what year is it from?
I think it might have come out in like 2001. I don't remember, but
this millennium anime.
Yeah, whatever. That's still 7 years ago.
No, it came out when we were at RIT. It must have been 2002 at least. I'm guessing.
But it was in the early days before I was running the anime club. I'm pretty sure.
Anyway.
Because I remember
I've only watched one disc of it, and you have the second one. So we're thinking we'll watch the second disc before we review the show.
We got to give it at least a fair shake, and I'm not sure if I'm going to watch the rest.
It's sort of an ambiguous kind of show, and I can't really tell if it's good or bad, so I need to watch some more.
But as a result, instead of reviewing something, we're going to do the classic cop-out and have a topic in anime, manga, or comics.
It's a little bit of a cop-out show because it's similar to a show we've done before, but
it'll also be kind of short, partly because it's late and I'm tired.
But
I just ate a bunch of pizza.
The episode also sort of has an agenda in that we've realized people really don't seem to understand what we have to talk about.
So here's the deal. Every time someone on the internet asks the question, I keep hearing about this anime thing, but I don't know much about it. Maybe I could get into it. What show should I watch?
Well, the thing is, we did an episode on how to get into anime. So if you're asking that question, you can go and listen to that episode. That I guess it's an older episode of ours, and it will answer the question.
The short answer, however, is watch the first DVD of Cowboy Bebop. If that doesn't do it for you, watch anything directed by a man named Satoshi Kon.
Yeah. But despite us doing that episode, you'd think that episode would also, right? If someone wanted to get their friend into anime, they would just sort of interpret the instructions of how to get yourself into anime and transfer them to the friend.
Id est, watch Cowboy Bebop.
Yes, but apparently people don't seem to understand this, and a lot of people on the internet, when confronted, anime fans, when confronted with someone who is not an anime fan asking about anime, will tell them all sorts of stupid shit that makes them not anime fans.
Now, it seems like there's a bunch of different classes of these people. I mean, on one hand, there's the old school anime fan, or the other way to put it is the anime fan whose otaku wang is bigger than your otaku wang.
Yep,
and what he'll do is he'll name drop. He'll always name either shows that are not necessarily that great or weren't that well received, but have a cult following, mostly from the late 80s or early 90s. Or they'll name shows that there's no way you've seen them. They've never been released in English anywhere ever.
Well, I think what those people actually tend to do is they tend to be the older school fan, right? So they'll tell you to watch the show that they started on. Because it's like, well, this show got me interested into anime, so it'll get you interested in anime. So they'll always give you like a Star Blazers or a Macross or something like that.
Yeah, but I think a lot of those people also I think they like the idea of giving the off answer. Like if you go into a thread where someone asks, hey, I don't get into anime, and someone says, watch Cowboy Bebop, Escaflowne, Evangelion, Trigun, the Akira movie, the same list.
Miyazaki's and Satoshi Kon's.
Yes, that's pretty much it.
That's pretty much it right there.
They always want to say something, but someone else already said Cowboy Bebop at all, yeah. So what they do is they think, what can I say that'll make me sound cool? Oh yeah, Macross, Do You Remember Love? And while that's a good movie, I don't know if that's quite for, I guess, an anime newbie.
I actually, a lot, this is a side note, but a lot of those fanboys are all about Do You Remember Love? I don't like it. I think the TV series is what you should watch and screw the compilation movie.
I don't know. The compilation movie does its job.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
It's not,
anyway.
It's not like it's a bad movie. I don't...
Whatever.
Whatever.
TV series is where it's at.
You wanted to generate some hate mail. That's the only reason you said that. You're hoping.
I've said it before.
You're hoping.
I've said it before.
The only reason you said that is you're hoping that Daryl Surratt is sitting there right now.
No, he knows. I've told him before.
I know, and he's sitting there right now going, "Damn it, Scott, you said that again."
Yeah.
I will seethe here in furious silence, and then I'll watch Fist of the North Star episode 78. Where I don't even know what happens.
Some guy gets his head exploded. All right. So the other thing a lot of people mistake when, they'll be an anime fan. Their friend who is not an anime fan will say, hey, I'm interested in maybe trying some anime. What should I watch? That they'll tell their friend their personal favorite, right? You don't tell someone else, right, your favorite anime.
I mean,
to
it might be.
on.
If your favorite anime is Cowboy Bebop, then I guess that
you don't
works,
hear Rim
but...
telling people to start watching Utena if they're not into anime.
Yes, if someone has never heard of anime and they're asking me for suggestions, I do not say Shoujo Kakume Utena.
Even though that's Rim's favorite show.
Well, I love that show, but I think it's a tie between that and Captain Tyler.
Well, even so, you don't tell people to watch either one of those as their first show.
I barely tell anyone to watch Captain Tyler, because while I love it, you really have to be in the right frame of mind to enjoy Captain Tyler.
Yeah.
Kind of like El Hazard.
The earlier episodes work in an anime club. The rest of the episodes don't work so well.
Well, they do with
just the right circumstances.
They're shows that, and not just that, but there's a lot, like Excel Saga is a good example. I think it's a great show because when it came out, the parody level was 1,000 times more parody than any anime I'd ever seen that was parodying other anime.
Yep.
And it was hilarious and wacky and it was a zany kind of humor, but it's a show that if you've never seen anime, it is not only incomprehensible, but possibly stupid and frightening.
Yeah, I mean, if you were to make a list of like, if you're to rank every anime in the universe in order from, number 1 is the best possible show for a new fan, and like number 1,000,000,000 is the worst possible show for a new fan, Excel Saga would probably be the very last show on the list, except for all the hentais that just come after it.
And I guess the way I would say it is it's a show for the advanced anime watcher.
Yeah, it's not the show you start out with.
Or at least the experienced anime watcher. I mean, there's some shows that just, they jump right into something that if you're not kind of already familiar with the tropes or the mores or the character archetypes.
The Lucky Stars and the Haruhis are not going to work on someone who is a brand new to anime and hasn't watched a bunch already.
So
it's just not going to happen.
I guess the point there is what you really have to do if you want them who, and they don't watch anime, to watch anime, you want to spread your fandom, remove yourself from the equation and think about things in terms of, well, there's 2 ways to look at it. One is, what do the majority of people like? Like, what are the most popular across the broadest spectrum of people? And that second part is key, because while, like, Bleach is crazy, crazy popular, it's crazy, crazy popular among certain specific groups of people, and it's generally maligned or not enjoyed by most other groups of people.
Yep. But something like Spirited Away is enjoyed by almost everybody.
Except Killarney.
Except one guy. But I mean, that is, that's something just pretty much almost any human being of any age and demographic can find some joy in somewhere. Almost. It's like 99%. So if a random person comes up to you and says, I want to get into anime, saying Spirited Away is something you should watch is not a bad answer. And in fact, I would always suggest using movies as opposed to TV shows as introductions to anime, because someone can get the whole thing in one shot. Getting someone to watch a 26-episode TV series is much more difficult. Even a 13-episode is much more difficult. Even a 4-episode OAV, much more difficult than a movie, which is one and done.
To get someone into anime at IBM once, I had to basically beat them over the head. I gave them Cowboy Bebop, and they were like, 5 episodes. And I was like, all right, look, just watch the 5th one. If you like that, watch the 1st one. If you like that, watch the rest. And finally, watch the 5th episode. He was like, I'd never seen a cartoon where someone pulled a gun before. But sadly, that's often the kind of angle you have to go, at least with people who aren't, I mean, there are people who just, they know about anime, they just don't watch it. And then there are people who just are unaware of the idea that animation is not a genre that means shows for people under the age of 2.
Yeah.
So what you want to do is empathize with the person, figure out, all right, what do they like? Ask them what shows they like, what movies they like. If they like Alfred Hitchcock, like thrillers and like every Alfred Hitchcock movie and that kind of thing, or like Dean Koontz books or any like sort of psychological thriller, then give them a copy of Perfect Blue, because it's just a thriller, a psychological thriller that happens to be animated.
Yeah. If they're liking, westerns and stuff, then give them, the old Trigun. If they're liking...
Well, it depends, because Trigun starts out a little... I had to convince my dad. I was like, Dad, seriously, trust me. It's not that guy running around with donuts or whatever.
No. If they like, fantasy action, you can maybe give them some Slayers... Or some other, you gotta...
Well, again, that's one of those, what kind of fantasy do they like?
That's true.
If they're a D&D playing, beer and pretzels, let's go kill the dragons, they'll probably find Slayers hilarious.
Probably.
If they're I'm a serious business dungeon master and I play serious business Dungeons and Dragons, the original Lodos War is gonna kick their ass. They will love that. They will eat that up.
Yeah, so it's like...
Then they'll murder you when they find out where it goes.
Yeah, it's like, if you don't know the person, you gotta go the general route. Stuff that almost anyone will like. But if you do know the person, then... Or if you ask, you can always question them out, too. You say, what do you like? What kind of... what's your favorite movie? If they say, Blade Runner... Maybe you could give them some Akira's or something, or maybe some Ghost in the Shell action.
Yeah, or if they like procedural cop dramas or things like that, get them some Standalone Complex.
Yeah. It's pretty much, don't go around telling people, oh, that sucks, I don't like it. If you're a big giant robot fan, that's great. You can like your giant robots. Your giant robots are awesome.
But it's not the most
But if someone comes
accessible-
up to you and says, I want to be an anime fan, I'm thinking about it, what should I watch? Don't be like, you should totally watch Getter Robo, because that will not work.
No.
You will turn them off of anime
No,
forever.
Getter, it's all about Great King Mazinkaiser.
I know. It's like, you're going to make a bad impression on them, even if it's something that you like, and I think another part of the problem is that some of these people out there, they know this. I'm not telling them anything new, but they're thinking in their minds, well, if they're not going to like the giant robots, I'd rather have them not like anime. It's like they don't want to make an anime fan. They want to make a giant robot fan.
I think that goes back into the same mentality that causes people to name drop instead of actually giving, I guess, useful recommendations based on a person's interests.
This is actually something I've noticed in reviews in general. I mean, serious reviewing people don't seem to have this problem as much, but people just giving sort of their offhand reviews in forums and blogs around the net, people don't seem to be able to sort of, a review is an entirely subjective thing, but people don't seem to be able to separate their personal, quirks and tastes in their review from the sort of actual, criteria criticisms. If you say something, has ugly character designs, that's sort of a general criticism. If it's drawn poorly or, it's skipping frames in the animation or something, that's a general criticism.
But if it's just Escaflowne or
if it's
something, or and something designed by Amano, or you just don't like it personally, then I think the good reviewer says, well, if you're like me, you won't like these character designs. But if you're the kind of person who likes really, really thin, angular people, then this is your show.
I'm thinking more along the lines of, the people who are like, this show has no robots, therefore it sucks.
Or the people who say, this show has robots, and therefore it sucks. Like someone in the forum said something to the effect of, blah, 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 Rim and Scott really love those giant robot shows. And I found that interesting because I actually dislike the vast majority of giant robot shows. In fact,
I like the idea of a giant robot. It's way cool.
Yes, but I feel like I like it mostly in an ironic way. Like Giant Robo, well, one, that show is not what you expect. And I wouldn't call that a giant robot show almost. It's something special.
Yeah.
But shows like Escaflowne, it has robots in it. But it's not a giant robot show. In fact, if anything, it's a shoujo with shonen elements or shonen with shoujo elements fantasy.
Yeah, I mean, there were a lot of people, when we did our Prince of the Nothing thing, they were like, yeah, I don't like fantasy books. And I'm like, what? It's like,
what do you mean you don't like fantasy books?
Well, it's like, how do you write it's like you just don't like the theme that's on top of the actual story. It's like, I don't understand how people can have such sort of
especially
narrow, short-sighted sort of taste.
I knew someone at RIT who loved the Star Wars novels, but hated fantasy novels.
They're the same exact thing, except
I'll just replace the lightsaber with Excalibur.
And it's the same exact kind of story.
Yeah.
I think it's the same thing we have with board games and video games.
But a lot of people say, I hate science fiction, but the only science fiction they know is Star Trek. They don't know about the Heinleins and the Asimovs, the speculative fiction.
Yeah, to them, it's like science fiction means spaceships. No, not really.
But at the same time,
Frankenstein is science fiction.
There are people who also bother me where they say, no, it's only truly science fiction if it's an Asimov or a Heinlein. It's like, no. You can have dumb speculative fiction.
Yeah, you definitely can. But it's like a lot of people seem to only judge things and see things on the surface level. Like, how many times do we we get two different video games, and we'll look at Ikaruga and Gradius and we'll say those are two completely different games, and someone else will look at them and say, but they're both shooting spaceships, and I'm like, no, one is a memorization game and one is a reflexes game. They're completely different and unrelated. And that's sort of the same thing that happens here with anime and everything else. Is we look through the surface, we look at, say, I'm trying to think of two shows.
The cover, and we judge the book by its cover.
Right.
Of course, the one thing I can say is the Prince of Nothing books, the originals at least, there was nothing on the cover but some fancy script and the title and the author's name.
And now the cover has
Now
an
the
ugly
cover has a
face.
picture of some guy.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think of two anime that have completely different themes on the surface level, but are very similar underneath.
It's easier to find two shows that look like they're exactly the same, but actually aren't, I guess.
Well, like Evangelion looks a lot like other robot shows.
It even starts like a giant robot show.
Yeah.
It's, like, interesting first episode, and then it's, fight this giant robot,
Or
and
here,
this one, and this one. But
Big
then,
Big O looks a lot like even more like giant robot shows in
dude,
Batman.
Big O is just a show where every episode, the Big O punches some other robot in the face.
But it's not even close to a giant robot show if you look underneath the surface.
It's actually... I guess that's the thing. A lot of people would write off a show like Big O because they're like, oh, giant robots, that's anime crap. But Big O, in my opinion, and I'm dead serious here, I think this was our first Final Thoughts show we did on Big O a long time ago.
Yeah, it was.
A long time ago. Big O is one of the more meaningful, more interesting, and deeper anime out there. Like,
It definitely is.
in the top 15 or 20, I'd say.
I definitely say. I mean, and plus, there's shows out there. What was that? Oh, what the hell was the show with it looked like a normal, cute, happy anime, but it was
when
actually evil?
Cries of the Higurashi.
Higurashi no Naku Koroni. That's the one. Yeah.
Emily reminded us.
Yeah. So yeah, that show. You can't be judging the shows.
I remember
by the
that
surface.
show because that was I remember we pick a random anime like, all right, let's watch episode 1 of something. So we turn on this show and we see someone brutally beating someone else to death with a baseball bat and there's blood everywhere. We're like, okay, what kind of show is this? Some kind of murder drama? Some kind of psychodrama? Some kind of, it's not a magical girl.
That's for sure.
Unless she's shonen or shoujo bat, but...
Well, that's not. You look at Fancy Lala and you'd be like, oh, it's a magical girl. It looked like Princess Tutu. Oh, it's a magical girl.
Well,
then,
yeah, I'm watching Princess Tutu now, and while it is a magical girl show, so is Utena in a lot of regards, but that does
Definitely
not
is.
mean it's on the same level as Sailor Moon.
Cardcaptor Sakura, which is a magical girl show straight up, with no not much deep action going on.
Yeah, Sailor Moon
It's
was
pretty
deeper.
much just cards.
Sailor Moon was deeper than Cardcaptor.
Only a little.
More.
It depends on which one you want.
I think you're underestimating the depth of Sailor Moon and overestimating the depth of Cardcaptor.
Yeah. Anyway, the point is, when you recommend anime to people who are not, into anime, you need to suggest things that are popular to most people and not just your favorite, because you actually want them to like anime. Even if they don't end up liking the anime you like, better they be an anime fan than not.
Now, remember, and the strategy here, if you want to just think about it in terms of, I'm going to get them into this, you start broad. You show them Cowboy Bebop.
Or some Miyazaki's.
And you say, like, check it out. Animation is good. Anime can be good. And then you step it up a little bit. Like, well, you liked that. Well, this is a little bit more for the refined fan. This is, the next step. Check this out. And you start him on Cowboy Bebop, and you end him on Great King Mazin Fist Kaiser Joe.
Right.
Or JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
And you got to ask them, you got to figure out what their personal taste is in other things. What books do they like, what comics they like, what movies. And then you can find anime that are very similar to those.
The only genre you're really not going to find in anime is Western style horror. You really don't see that.
No, you're going to find weird Asian horror.
Which I actually prefer. I guess.
It depends.
But no, actually, what I really
like the Bug Boy.
What I was about to say is I really like the quirky Asian quote-unquote horror. I really like Kitaro.
The Kitaro's good. I like Kitaro, and I don't know. I was just actually, right before we did the show, I was looking at my shelf, and I saw the Bug Boy, and I remembered how much I liked the Bug Boy.
The Bug Boy.
Bug Boy.
I like the Bug Boy.
I like the Bug Boy
He was so happy in the ocean.
I liked it. The best part is when he's going down the slide at the playground. And then lastly, you have to put your personal tastes aside,
at least temporarily,
and examine the shows below the surface level to determine what kind of show they actually are, and not what kind of show they appear to be.
Say you meet someone who isn't into anime, but like the idea of giant robots beating each other to death, just this sets their rocks off, and that's what they like. Like, oh man, you're telling me I can see giant robots fighting? You don't want to show them Ava. Because it's going to start with giant robots fighting, and then it's going to turn into this philosophical rant fest, and they're going to get confused and wander away and probably hate you.
Yeah, that is the person who needs some Getter Robos with a stat.
Some Rust Hurricanes, up-ins.
Some Mazinger Z's.
Or maybe, or the same deal. They like giant robots. Don't show them giant robot. Now, you might be confused because the name, Giant Robo. You figure if someone likes giant robots, but no, that show is not about what you think it's about. And the robot cries. And oh man.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think we've made our point well enough.
Yeah.
The catalyst for this show was that someone asked in the forums at one point, what should I watch to get into anime? And I'm going to be honest, pretty much every suggestion that people gave in that thread was just horrible.
Yeah,
a lot of them were good shows, but that's not how you convince someone to like your thing, is by showing them the weirdest or the most extreme or the most inside examples of your thing. You start broad and then you narrow it down.
Yep. You know, I do find it interesting though. A lot of the old school fans, a lot of them came in like through the sci-fis. You know, the Akiras, the Matsumotos, the Robotech Macrosses. That was really like the big original draw, I think, including myself.
Yeah, well, there was a lot of, all the niche fandoms kind of had a lot of overlap in terms of, if nerds and geeks get together, nerds and geeks tended to like very specific things, and now we're having this kind of flowering of geek renaissance, man.
Yep. Oh, so this is how we can make more anime fans, people. You want more anime fans, not less, right? Okay, so do what we say.
So, again, in case you forgot, Cowboy Bebop, Evangelion, Escaflowne, Trigun,
Miyazaki.
anything directed by Miyazaki or Satoshi Kon, or Porco Rosso.
Porco Rosso's a great...
Oh, man.
You pretty much, no matter who it is, you can't go wrong saying this is your first anime.
Because
the pig in the airplane.
We got to review Porco Rosso.
I only watched it twice. It was years ago.
I've seen it like 7 times.
I've only seen it 2 times.
Oh,
but
man.
I see the thing is,
you know what it is? Because that's a good
Spirited
example.
Away, I think, might still be my number one Miyazaki, but like Porco Rosso is always like right on top of it, and I think if I watched Porco Rosso, it might jump ahead again. I don't know.
It's hard to say.
It's a tough call.
I think what the deal with Porco Rosso, if you want to show it to someone, is because it's older, you can play up the one. It's still got all the charm of like a Ghibli movie. Like you look at it, you're like, wow. And it's lighthearted, but there's some depth there, and everything's great about it. And the animation's really good, and at the same time, it's vintage. It looks old, so you can plan to play this is like some vintage animation. Look at this. This is a classic. And they'll look at it and go, wow, yeah, a classic. I should watch a classic in anything. Yeah, let's go. And then you watch it, and it's got these quirky charm elements. I mean, the main character's a pig, but yet no one really talks about that.
And he flies a plane.
And that's it.
That's normal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This has been Geek Nights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music.
Be sure to visit our website at www.frontrowcrew.com, where you'll find show notes, links, our awesome forum, a link to our Frapper map, and links to all the RSS feeds.
We say feeds plural because Geek Nights airs 4 nights a week, covering 4 different brands of geekery. Mondays are science and technology. Tuesdays, we have video games, board games, and RPGs. Wednesdays are anime, manga, comic nights. And Thursdays are the catch-alls for various rants and tomfoolery.
You can send us feedback by email to geeknights@frontrowcrew.com. Or you can send audio feedback via audio. Just click the link that says Send Me an Audio on the right side of our website.
If you like what you hear, you can catch the last 100 episodes in iTunes or in your favorite podcatcher. For the complete archives, visit the website, which has everything.
Geek Nights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share-alike 2.5 license. This means you can do whatever you want with it as long as you give us credit, don't make money, and share it in kind. Geek Nights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.